Well, welcome back to Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization. Sasquatch Organization.
I like Sasquatch.
One of these days I'm going to get that right. Still never after this long. Anyway, got Kelly, Jen, myself, Derek back here. We're going to discuss a couple different things. One, the Mississippi Bigfoot. We're finally going to get to that. We touched on it at the end of our last cast. But this time we're actually going to sit down and look at it and give kind of our 2 cents on what we all think about it. And if you guys follow us much at all, you're familiar with one of our canyons called Yellowstone Canyon. We're going to discuss what initially got us going up to Yellowstone Canyon, things that happened to Yellowstone Canyon. It's one of them canyons or one of them locations out of the 50, 60 over the last 7 years Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization has gone to looking for stuff. This is one that produces. This is one that this year, just from day one, finding footprints, getting whoops, getting things thrown at us. So at least these guys. So we're going to discuss what actually happened on that day, and lead into stuff that happened even later on throughout that month that we were going there. So initially what started this off, and these guys know it quite a bit better, of what got us introduced to Yellowstone Canyon, was Brody, and there's a pretty good story that goes on behind that. So at this point, I think either one of you two want to jump off and start this story of why we either went to Yellowstone Canyon, or you want to jump. We'll do the Mississippi Bigfoot here, but later. I think Yellowstone Canyon's on our minds right now, and I think we'll let you do that.
What got us into Yellowstone Canyon is Brody. He spent a lot of years prospecting, and 2 years ago he thought he had a Bigfoot experience there. And what really brought it up was I was telling Brody about the summer project that Jenny developed. We think these territorial structures that we find have some type of a significance, and so we really wanted to study them with data and so forth. And Jenny suggests that we GPS each one of these structures and put it on like a Google map overlay. And we have about four structure areas, different places. Sasquatch Canyon, Yellowstone Canyon, Bear Wallow, Stillwater.
Wallow.
Which is, we consider that the Sasquatch Canyon area. So, but I don't know if, like, you want to drill. Derek's building this database and he wants to drill in deeper, so he'll separate Rough Hollow out from Sasquatch Canyon.
I'm going to separate it out by elevations, temperatures, what type of structures are in the area, what type of vocalizations are found in the area. As deep as I can go, that's where we want to go. That's what's going to get this data working for us.
So I brought that up with Brody, and Brody's like, hey, at the beginning of the year, he's like, I had what I think was a Bigfoot experience up near Yellowstone Canyon where I found a structure. And so I'm like, take me back to where you found the structure. And so on August 3rd, 2013, he took Jenny and I back in there for our first time, and it wasn't disappointing. Not only did we find the structure that he had found 2 years before, we found another 4 or 5 major structures back in there. We only GPS the 4 largest that we have on our map overlay. And one of them's the one that he had his encounter. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about his encounter. Him and his girlfriend were up there, and he was, like I said, prospecting, looking for minerals and stuff like that. And they had some whoops and vocalizations around them, got growled at. So they went like 4 or 5 miles back to camp, and he felt like they got followed back to camp. And later that night they got growled at in their camp. They had branches getting snapped off near them in camp, and then something from the woods started throwing sticks and small rocks and stuff at him. And he had a trailer at the parking lot that he was staying in, and it threw rocks and sticks and vocalized outside of his camp all night long. So this is where he took Jenny and I 2 years later. And
yeah, when he woke up that next morning, he looked on top of his trailer, and the whole top of his trailer was just covered in little rocks and smaller branches. Just the whole top of it was covered.
That's pretty cool. A little bit creepy.
Yeah.
So when our first time down there, we got about a mile in and found the first structure that Brody had not seen before being back in there. And we found the first structure, and it was fairly impressive, and it was right near what I like to call Bigfoot salad. It's that edible form of milkweed, and there was just a big open meadow right next to this structure. And right around that structure area, Jenny heard a mouth pop. And from then on, something skirted us about 100 yards back in the woods and always kept out of sight, but we could hear it moving once in a while. And a lot of times, especially close to structures, it would vocalize with mouth pops, whoops, and rock clacks. We got around all the structures. And Jenny's the one that first discovered the mouth popping thing in our group. I think a lot of people will mistake a mouth pop for a wood crack. You know, they'll call it a wood knocking, but we believe there's a difference and stuff. And Jenny's pointed it out in a lot of the wood knocks that we're hearing. She's like, it's making a type noise.
So explain the difference.
Well,
I mean, what brought it to your attention? Where did it stick out?
When it brought
6-bit springs the first time that we heard one.
Yeah, at 6 bits was the first time that we ever heard one, and they're really similar sounding when you hear wood knock, not a wood crack, not when they rip a limb off, when they actually take a large stick and hit the tree and makes the big snap, the big pop noise, pop, you know. Well, there's a difference. If you listen, some of them is not wood hitting wood. It's got to be, I think it's them making a mouth pop. You know, I can't make the noise.
When we were back in 6 bits, we heard a lot of them. We hear them quite often when we camp in a certain place out at 6 bits on top of Monty. And Jenny and I have been hiking back in the area that we hear them in, and we heard one very close to us, and we could not figure out the source. And I think we were close enough that we were finally able to figure out the distinction. So now we listen. I don't know, our ears are more in tune to hearing the difference between those. And we were down in Yellowstone Canyon this year. This is last year that we discovered that some of them are starting to mouth, or I'm sure they've done it all their lives, mouth pop, and it's like a type noise. Except for I can't make it. I can't make the wood sound. And you got to have I'm guessing you have to have a big mouth and, you know, a big capacity, big tongue to do that, or whatever they do.
Figured you ought to be able to master it then.
I do have a big mouth. So,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But there was Bigfoot salad there, structure, and she hears the mouth pop, and we heard it a couple more times after that, and we went scouting back. And it's funny, sometimes when they start paralleling you and you get brave and you want to go check it out, you can sometimes hear them retreating from you, and they seem to keep a distance where they don't show themselves.
The Yellowstone Canyon's quite a bit bigger, quite a bit more open.
It's immense.
Than what, obviously, like a Rough Hollow, which is a very tight
This place.
Okay, you really can't call it open though. The canyon's wider and everything. It's not.
But it don't have the cliffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got the cliffs on both sides.
But the forest is thick. It is thick forest, and there's deadfall everywhere. It's not a trail that we're hiking on or an animal trail. To get back into this place that Brody took us.
You got some pictures.
Yeah, this place that Brody took us into, we had to walk over all types of deadfall. It is a workout getting in and out of this place. You feel like you've spent the whole day on a Stairmaster because you have to climb over so much deadfall and
under and over.
Puts a little bit of perspective on
rough.
Some of the pictures that are on our site. So when you're actually going through them, you'll see Yellowstone Canyon.
I think Derek wanted me to show you some of these pictures right here.
Well, yeah, this is an overlay of the actual canyon right here and the whole hike.
This is our hiking log on that very day. This is the GPS hiking log. Every square on there is a bing to the satellite, and you can see where we started at the truck. And this is structure 2 over here. That's where Brody got messed with 2 years ago, and that's the only structure that he knew of in the area when he took us in. Us hiking around all day. There's a creek down here, and what Brody, because Brody had this GPS from last year, what he wanted to do is he wanted to follow the creek down below and then climb up to the structure, because this is uphill. But anyway, that's the first structure that we got down to, and that's where we found the Bigfoot salad, and Jenny heard the mouth pops. Then we worked our way up to that one, and at that one we heard some whoops. Here, and I think that's when the rock clacking really started. And then that structure, we found that last structure, still some more rock clacks. And then when we got back down to the creek down here, just before we crossed, we found an 11-inch footprint by Bigfoot salad. There was a little bit of Bigfoot salad.
So just to jump in, give us an idea of, say, this point to this point. What's the distance we're talking about here? We're talking 500 yards.
We'll give you Oh, we unplugged it. Sorry. Let me set it back up while you plug it in. I probably stepped on it on the floor.
There we go.
Let me set the camera back up.
It's all good.
Well, you wanted a perspective in mileage for people while I fix this.
Oh, it's plugged back in. It was at the top.
It was unplugged down here.
To get you a battery.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that whole entire hike log was 8 miles. So it was 4 miles in, 4 miles out. That gives you a perspective. So those structures were separated by about a mile each, or maybe
So those two that are right there on the side of that map. So you're talking a mile between those?
That bottom structure and the upper one is close to a mile, yeah.
Wow. So that's actually a pretty lot further up overlook of that whole trail.
It's about 2 square miles that those structures encompass.
But it's not flat terrain. It's straight up. Straight
It's
up.
steep stuff. And you got to climb over deadfall.
I never wanted to walk uphill ever again in my whole life after that day.
It's booting back up. I'm sorry about unplugging it.
No, it's all good. We just got quite a few more pictures. A lot of these actual structures. We got pictures of the structures and just looks at the terrain, where it is.
There's a couple of there's 2 springs up on the top. There's a creek down at the bottom, and then there's like 5-6 different types of berries up in there. Every time we were up there, we were eating wild strawberries and wild raspberries, and both, in my opinion, are sweeter than the garden variety.
Oh,
they're so good. Sometimes we just wanted to lay in a raspberry bush and just eat. And we did. There was a few times, we got some videos of eating handfuls of those. Okay,
let's get the folder back up here.
Yeah, I'm getting it back up.
Yeah, there's those strawberries that we found up there on the side of the mountain. Tasted better than any strawberry ever that I've ever had in the store, or I've had them in my own garden that haven't tasted that good. But they're real small. They're almost as small as a blueberry, but they're perfect little teeny strawberries. They're darling.
Okay, we've got the map back up if we want to throw it on there, but yeah, they are perfect little strawberries. Me and Jenny sure loved eating them. Yeah, we were going during the right time of the year when everything was ripe too. That's what Derek wanted me to point out is from this structure to this structure is about a mile. And these structures encompass probably 2 square miles of area. And anyway, well, something else I wanted to point back. I just wanted to give a quick review of what happened. I've told you guys what's happened up to here. When we got down to here, we found an 11-inch footprint, and we were measuring it, this and that. And just as we got down to the creek, within about 50 yards of finding that footprint, something threw 2 stones in the creek near us. And then the whole way hiking back to the vehicle, it sounded like we were getting trailed. And actually, the whole time that we were hiking around here that day, we could hear ourselves being trailed. And like I says, it would whoop at us sometimes. Never would show itself though. But on the way back, we get up to here just before this huge meadow, and Jenny splits up from Brody and I for some reason. She was checking something out on her own. And what happened, Jenny?
I got, you guys were off on this side of the mountain, and I tend to wander off. I know I shouldn't do that, but I do. I've done it since I was a little girl. I wander off, and I go look at stuff, and I get, I just keep going and finding something interesting, and then another thing more interesting, and and then I realize that I'm all alone. And, so I'm standing there and I'm looking at all of the rocks and all of the pretty little sparkly rocks and flowers and off in my own little land, and I hear it growled at me, something growled at me, and it was, it stopped my heart. I thought I was gonna vomit. It scared the crap out of me. I just stood there and I was so scared. It sounded like the biggest man that you could possibly think of, a big scary ornery man growling at you. It didn't sound like an animal.
Like a grunt?
No, it went.
Me and Brody could hear it.
I mean, it was.
She split way off from us for some reason.
Just a real deep guttural.
Yeah, it sounded like somebody, like, but you know, a big man, like a big mean man. And I stood there for the longest time because I couldn't move and I was too scared, and finally I just said, Brody. I started calling for my brother. I was scared, and so then I hear Brody and he's coming, and it growled one more time, and then that's the last time that I heard it. And Brody came up through the bushes, he came running. Because he knew
well, we knew we were being followed. The thing is we felt secure in her going up ahead because we could hear us getting trailed the whole time coming back, and me and Brody kept stopping and being quiet and hiding a little bit and stuff. So actually, in hindsight, I thought it was a good idea she was wandering off anyway, because I was hoping it would hear her and follow her, and me and Brody would see it come past. It probably skirted way around and caught up with her if it was the same thing following us. Who knows? There could be more than one. Whenever we get into these places, we have found 3 different size footprints over that month in this area. So you know that there's more that's in this than one in this area at times.
Yeah, the growl didn't sound. Well, I've heard a bear. I've heard tons of bears. I know what a bear sounds like. I know what a mountain lion sounds like. I know what a dog sounds like. I know what a human sounds like. And the best way I can describe it is it sounded like a mixture between a big, huge man and a jungle cat. Not like a mountain lion, like a lion, like an African lion and a man mixed together. That's what it sounded like to me.
So after we rendezvoused back with Jenny, we crossed the large meadow, and once you hit the tree line, you're about a half a mile from the vehicles. And Brody's the master at using every inch of daylight. He always times our trip back in to where we're getting back about dark. There's a lot of times I'm with Brody that we actually don't get back till after dark, but he uses every inch of light. And just as we got across that meadow and into that tree line, the sun, you could just see the sun right at the top of the mountain going down, you know, and then it started screaming at us across the meadow.
Oh yeah.
It screamed at us in less than a minute, 5 long haunting screams. And
Do you have nightmares?
no,
They were just haunting, so.
well, it's what it's exciting to hear it. That's what we're out there for. Well, I click on the video camera and we get it on and everything, and it makes probably 2 screams by the time I get it on, and we never did get an audio of it. It's the reason Brody got the parabolic mic the next week. He did not ever want to, you know, the little whoops and stuff here and there and mouth pops. Those are impossible to catch unless you're constantly recording. We had a chance to get those screams, and my normal camera microphone that I had at the time just was not powerful enough to pick them up. But we could tell they were directed right at us, and I just felt like what was whooping at us, following us around, mouth popping, rock clacking all day. Once we got across that meadow, it was giving us yells like, "Don't come back." I really felt like it was just saying, "Don't come back."
It was the loudest thing that you can imagine. I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't.
That meadow's probably 4 football fields wide, and it's in the tree. It's probably it seemed like it was right at the tree line there, and we're entering the tree line on the other side, and it screamed across. So there was no forest to block its voice.
No.
And even that far away, it had a powerful voice to be able to scream like that. I can't imagine any person minus a megaphone or something to be able to make their voice carry that.
No. You'd have thought a mic would have picked something like that up, though. Just saying.
We didn't have.
I had a cheapy little
You know
pocket
those little
camera.
Yeah, I know. I know what
Walmart
you were
ones?
talking about. So I get it.
We were clear
That sucks.
after the meadow. There's this little trail that goes back up to where people park their trailers and horse trailers at, which is about 100-yard stretch, and we were already out of that, out of the woods, past the meadow, and on the little trail, and we could see the parking lot, and we just
we weren't right at the edge of the meadow and stuff. We were in the tree line a ways, but it made its yell from across the other clearing.
So
we even went back.
We dropped all our gear just right there on the ground and ran back to the meadow because Brody was absolutely positive that it was going to show itself to us that day because it was being so aggressive. And what was creepy is all these animals started running away from the noise.
There were 6 head of cattle. That meadow's a free range area, and a rancher had not very many head of cattle. And I'm sorry to say, but every time we go there, we find a new dead cow. It's and I have not been able to figure out the cause of death on the. Every time we see a dead cow, but there were 6 cows in the area when it made it scream, and I've never seen a herd of cattle run so fast.
Yeah, because they ran
because they were on the same side of the meadow that it made the screams, and they charged all the way back to the parking lot side. I mean, it's that little meadow area is fenced in. We had to climb through one of those log fences and stuff. The cattle are kept in there. They can't go wandering off into the forest where we come from. It's primitive forest back there. They're not supposed to be able to
land, though. I mean,
it's free range.
It's free range. It's like the state allows them to, if you get your registration or whatever, you get free range time.
But they just make, it's not even really a fence. You know the little logs that they stack up that kind of do the little thing.
The sawtooth type fences, I think they're called.
Okay, fair enough.
I would like to.
Did you mention as well?
I would like to show more of the pictures.
This is 10,000 feet. So all you people that think that you're at high altitude at 4,000 feet hunting Bigfoot, I don't think so.
Yeah, try breathing at 10,000 feet after you've been walking for 5 hours.
Yeah, it's hard to breathe at that altitude.
It's a lot taller, but
here's without the mapping log. Here's major structures. Mind you, we probably found 3 or 4 smaller structures, but these are the major structures. Another map overview. and I thought people might appreciate seeing this of Yellowstone Canyon. We've showed you guys on Rev Jeff's podcast a Bear Wallow one, and we've got one of Stillwater, we've got one of Rough Hollow and Sasquatch Canyon that we'll show you guys on other round tables, but this is what we're talking about today's Yellowstone Canyon. This is what we call an X structure. We found a couple of X structures in there. Derek explains it on our website when he sees one of these, and we found them in more than these types of places. Derek says, yeah, that looks like a symbol of don't go there.
Yep. An outer structure. Oh. Something that's like on the outer edges of basically.
That's it from another angle. Here's some snap-offs leading from these X structures, and they're low snap-offs. Here is the structure that Brody found a couple of years prior. We should have had someone standing under it to give it size, but there's no ropes or anything holding these together. These were balanced together, good sized logs.
At this point, how high up is that? About maybe 15 feet?
I stand about right here.
Oh, so it's about 10, 12 feet then.
Yeah. We've got videos of it that I'll put up. Right now the videos are on the Kelly Shaw Bigfoot YouTube. You guys can go check them out there if you'd like, but I'll get those transferred over now that we've done this podcast or this roundtable. I'll get them transferred over to the Rocky Mountain one so you guys can see what we're talking about. And there's, see, I had to take a picture of showing you guys that nothing's tied. These are balanced. That's some planning. And this is
a jungle gym.
Yeah, we've got 4 or 5 different structures that we call them, and this is one that we deem a jungle gym.
One in Rough Hollow is about 5 times that size.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge.
But these are big logs. These are some large logs that these are made out of. These are 1,200 pound, 1,500 pound logs or better. I'm sure some of them are a couple of tons. And there's it from a different angle. And I'm sorry, we need someone to take pictures full time because I usually do video, and I forgot to take pictures of some of the structures, but we do have them on video, so I've been able to only show you guys 3 types of structures we found in there, and we probably found 6 or 7, so you guys will have to check out our videos later on in the week, and I'll put some of those up. And there's a snap off on the way out. That was on our way down to where we found the 11-inch footprint and had some rocks thrown at us.
And relatively fresh. I mean, it's not brand new, but it's relatively fresh from what it looks like.
It was still fresh, and there was green leaves on it.
Yeah, see?
And so it wasn't caused by snow, and there's nothing else. There's no...
Look at above Jenny's head. It looks at least 5 inches in diameter where it snapped it.
That's about 7 feet where it actually snapped.
If it was snow that caused this or wind, look, there's the weakest point. Look how thin it is up there, and it snapped. It snapped in a relatively one of the thicker parts of
It wasn't even snapped. It's been twisted off.
It's crazy.
That's cool.
And Jenny stood there so we could give it a size comparison. And some of the structures we filmed, Jenny and Brody were walking right under them, so we have size comparison on film. We're getting better at collecting data, trying to get pictures and film of everything. And there's another snap off.
I'll be able to add the images. I'll have all that stuff built into the website or the database as well.
There's a picture of Brody and I that Jenny took at the beginning of that day. Sorry we didn't take a picture of Jenny, but she's on a lot of the films. You guys will see her on some of the videos that we'll be transferring over. And there's the hiking log.
Cool. That's a fun-filled day.
It did not disappoint. It actually 3 out of the 4 weekends that month we spent there, and as a matter of fact, on the 24th, the weekend of the August 24th, Jenny and I camped back in there, and Brody come and helped us set up camp, and he just come up for the day and helped us carry our gear in and set up camp. And then we went hiking that day, and that's the day that we casted the 15-inch footprint and found the 2 large tufts of hair.
Here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I got it sitting out on the table.
Yeah.
This is going to be another round table. We'll talk about the events of that day, but since this is the same area, we got the 2 tufts of hair kind. These are the 2 separated tufts that we found that day, and then these are the same types of samples. I sent samples as big as this one right here to Dr. Meldrum and Dr. Sykes. They seen the videos and the pictures of this and asked for samples. They've had it for a while now, and we still don't have an answer. So sometimes no news is good news. I'm glad we don't know what it is yet. And then this is the footprint that we casted that day, and there's 2 of these types of hairs inside it. I doubt you guys can see it, but there's one of the hairs right here, excuse me, that sticks out right here, and then there is another hair right there still inside the casting.
And mention, and we'll have to get some good light on this, maybe a magnifying glass, but there's actual dermal ridges that you can actually see up here in this upper corner.
Yeah, near the toe and the ball. Yeah, and what I really liked about this one is we did get good large toe separation off the small toes and stuff. It's really hard to get a good footprint in the substrate that we're dealing with in the Rocky Mountains. If you look at all the rock that's wedged inside of these prints and stuff. This one's another day. This footprint come out of Rough Hollow. That's a 14-incher out of Rough Hollow, and then here's the 15-incher that we got out of Yellowstone Canyon. And Rough Hollow and Yellowstone Canyon are probably separated by 40 miles or better. That's good 40 miles apart. But yeah, there's our nasty hair. It really stunk at first. It's starting to, the smell's starting to subside the longer that we have it, but it was pretty rank at first.
We have kept samples that nobody's touched. Lots.
Well, yeah, there's 2 of the samples. Yeah. These 2 samples have never been touched by human hands. Since we've got, and Brody's got a sample that's never been touched by human hands, etc. But and we got samples, large samples. I mean, this is over 100 hairs, and this has never been touched. Now that we've got uncontaminated samples, we're manhandling the rest of this stuff. But like Dr. Sykes says, if something's been handled by man and you know it, you just clean it. He can clean this and still get a non-contaminated DNA sample, but so he's already got 100.
Nasty water hair.
Oh, and it stunk when we first got it.
Staring at hair.
It was a very musky BO type stench.
Sorry, scratchy stiff.
That's gross. It creeps me out.
It is creepy hair.
It is.
Cool.
All right, so that's kind of our day, and the first time in Yellowstone Canyon. It was quite exciting.
Heck of a first day.
What's that?
Heck of a first day.
Well, it's like your first day in Rough Hollow.
Yeah.
That's the best day of squatching I've ever had in my life, and I'm like, I've been talking this up all year to Derek, that you know how great the place is, and of course you're like, oh man, first time he's coming up there with us, we're probably gonna get skunked, and no.
I wonder if it's because we brought a child.
Maybe.
I think we're back in there so much they're real curious.
It's like a family-oriented type encounter there, with the different size footprints, juvenile size, that type of stuff.
Yeah, we had.
Who knows?
I know.
I mean, it might bring a difference.
It could have been the time of year. It was a great day. They come in close. We could smell them. They left footprints. They left fresh footprints. It made tracks behind us, following us. We could hear it following us. We could smell it that day. And then on our way out, we find 19-inch footprints and stuff. That's another round table. We'll go throughout that whole day, show pictures and stuff. And Derek was there that day, and he made sure to get a lot of pictures. He rises me, you guys didn't get enough pictures. And I'm like, sometimes I'll videotape something and think, oh, okay, I documented it, and then you know, after I get home, I'm like, gosh, photographs photographs are a very nice form of evidence. Make sure you do both, because we forget and then we regret it. And I'm telling you, as a research team, we regret not having both. You can pull pictures off of a video, but they're not as good as quality as a still cam.
It's not the same for me.
No.
I agree.
I agree with you.
So, I guess moving along, after a very interesting day, let's talk about the Mississippi encounter. Kind of up in the air. I personally like it. I think all of us here at Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization are impressed with the video. I think it's one of the betters out there in a very long time.
By far.
I have to go on my gut instinct. The first time I saw it, and every time I've seen it since, my gut instinct tells me it's real, and I've only felt that way on 3 videos initially watching them, and that's the Patterson Gimlin film. My gut instinct, and every time I see it, it screams real. And so does the Paul Freeman video. It took until Dr. Meldrum several years after it happened to authenticate the footprints, but the very first time I saw it, I was like, that's real, and I couldn't understand why it wasn't getting the attention that it should have. So, yeah, three videos that initially I'm like, that's real, and that's how I feel about this one. Do you guys want me to film it while we talk about it?
What? Oh, this, yeah, absolutely. Let's give you a reason, kind of why we've slowed this down here. I got it sitting in a place, and let's explain.
Okay.
Basically what he's doing and why first. Basically, this thing is completely squatted down and in water. I mean, it's standing in water itself.
Like muck.
I mean, it's cleared down like this, just kind of hanging. Got its balance ripping on this tree. And the place where I have this sitting, because we're going to go frame by frame on it, you see it completely adjust itself, holding on to this tree, and just yanks and throws his whole back into ripping part of this bark or tree, part of the tree, completely off. Never gets out of his stance, and
doesn't lose his balance.
After he yanks it out, he's holding it back down here, and this thing's still quite a bit up over its head that he is just tossing into the water and stuff. Not saying that it's all that heavy, it's just the fact that something that big squatted down and it just looks really good. So I think we ought to watch it a little bit.
It looks too natural to me to be a suit. And it's in water. If you're gonna have a suit that's that complex and impressive, are you gonna really get into swamp water with it? And then the creature seems very natural and comfortable. It seems very comfortable. I can't imagine a person being able to squat that much like that comfortably and get that much leverage to be able to rip that tree apart like it did.
Well, in fact, when I first saw it, I thought it was an ape, because it has movements of an ape.
The back looked like it to me.
It looked like
if it had not stood up, I would have thought it was an ape. That was the money right there, is it standing up and having those longer than ape legs, thicker than ape legs. That's what tells everybody it's a Bigfoot. Otherwise, I would say it's an ape out there.
Not to mention it right where it actually steps out, and we'll fast forward it, but when it steps up and stands up, you see a defined back of a cone head, the whole. It's got everything that screams Sasquatch to me.
Yeah.
One way or another, it was very well done. I like it for what it is. So let's bring this over. Let's actually look at this.
All right, we're gonna put the camera on it and kind of go through some of the frames that really impress us. And it's gonna take me just a second to get this set up there. I want to get it zoomed in properly so people can see what we're talking about.
And for anybody, anybody that listens or cares, all this is Movie Maker in Windows. I just used a YouTube downloader, pulled it. I wish I had the original. I'd use the original if I had it, but I just literally just pulled this off of YouTube with a YouTube downloader, loaded it into Movie Maker, and just run it frame by frame. You know, you can just tap it and actually go frame by frame. So what we're looking at, here's the subject here. And what we're going to be looking at, and I hope you can see it, but right here is the bottom of his leg. You got his arm here. This is his head right up here. So what we're looking at is you'll see that there's a total shifting of weight off of this back leg. This is basically, you're staring at his butt right here. Shifting of this back leg where it pulls back, and then he's leaning forward and you see him just yank back, and the whole upper torso just rips back and throws the actual, you know, throws the bark into the ground. And we're basically thinking he's hunting for grubs. Something like grubs, ants, something like that he's looking at, that he's basically eating on.
The grubs is a great source of protein.
That's the first thing that I thought.
They get big and rotted logs and stuff.
Excuse me. So we can run it here. Let me go back a little bit. I'm going to run this full. See how it is right there, and you'll watch, and it just fills up the leg. I'll do it full, go as fast as it'll go, and then we'll go frame by frame. Pulls back, rips that sucker off, sits back down, and then this guy stands up. He stands up right while this is going on. So this is just before he stands up. I'm going in reverse now. That's him.
It looks so gorilla-like.
It does. It looks like.
And then the long legs, you know it's not a gorilla.
Well, the hair on top of his head is a different color. It's like he's got silver hair on top of his.
Yeah, and you see that. You see that in gorillas too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like the silverback.
Like the silverbacks.
They're mostly black, but then they have the brown and then the silver tips.
Just the movement. It flows nicely. What it's doing. I personally am impressed with the video itself.
It doesn't scream a guy in a suit. It screams natural.
It's an animal.
And it's a strong animal. Look, it doesn't have to use a lot of its. I mean, it's really muscling that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it yanks on it a few times to get it to come off. You know, and it looks like it just kind of looks at it and then throws it off to the side. He stands up. I'm impressed with the video. At least that's a good segment of the video. Best shown from part of it for me. And then we can find it here real quick where he actually goes and stands up.
I want to talk about something else that helps me buy. It's preoccupied.
You can see the different shades of the head right there, where like he's got like a silver crest or a lighter crest, or just the light actually coming down on it. I mean, that just the glare of the fur, the hair with the light coming down.
It was a great combination of events.
That's where he went to stand.
That the guy was able to sneak up on it. I bet you the breeze was in the guy's face. It's preoccupied and in water, making all this noise, and it was just a great set of circumstances that this guy was able to get this close and get this footage.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the guy actually had his back to it. He was just sitting down with his back up against a tree, the stump.
Just relaxing.
Hunting, just kind of waiting for things to get a little bit dark to actually see critters moving around. You know,
great situation.
Start moving.
The guy wasn't making much noise at all, because if you listen to the background, you can still hear crickets. If you're making a lot of noise, the crickets are quiet. They'll peep through animals and whatnot, but not humans.
Yep.
And they're still
during the daytime anyway. Yeah.
Yep. If you can actually tell, if you're looking at the back of his head right here, you're actually seeing a pretty good cone shape of the back of that guy's head right there.
And he's got a big of fat on the back of his neck.
Never really thought about doing the breakdown on this thing, but I don't mind doing this and blowing it up full blown and get a few of the key points of this thing of why we think the way it is. But that thing's standing up. The thing's huge. The thing's big.
It's not a gorilla. As soon as it stands up, you can see that its legs aren't bent out like a gorilla. They stand straight up.
A gorilla's legs are smaller in proportion to its body. This thing has long legs, long, thick legs.
And long arms, real long arms.
It screams Bigfoot to me.
And not a lot of people can squat that long and do that much physical labor and stand straight up without help.
And get the leverage it takes to tear apart a tree in the squatting position.
But it's not fully out of feasibility.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's just pretty good. So
it is.
Anyway,
pretty impressive.
It's a state of the art hoax if it's hoaxed, and it just screams real to me.
Either way, now you're throwing our 2 cents out there on the Mississippi Bigfoot. We like it.
Comparatively speaking, it is a pretty good one.
Yep. It's not thermal and there's no cows. Oh, our cows run away from it. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the reports
Very
are
quick.
out
Whole
there.
herd of it and whole cows ran away from it. Didn't just stand there and act like it wasn't even there.
They're scared of our cows were scared of it and ran straight as far away from the noise as they could get out of the picture.
You're talking about Yellowstone Canyon.
Yellowstone Canyon, yeah.
The cows that were there. And I would like to point out that we live very close to South Weber. It's less than 10 miles from where we live now. And when they had the problem with well, it's not a problem, but there was a lot of Bigfoot sightings that happened there along the river throughout South Weber, Riverdale, Ogden, along the river. There was a lot of Bigfoot sightings for a couple of years there, and people said when they heard vocalizations near their property, the horses and the cattle would get on the opposite side of the field where they were hearing vocalizations during those times. So
yeah, there was a summer there that.
So I have a hard time buying Bigfoot footage where there's a cow just doing its thing and there's a Bigfoot running around in the background and stuff. Because a lot of I've seen it firsthand, and a lot of the reports around here, the animals are terrified
of it
when a Bigfoot's around.
Yeah, there was a summer there in South Weber where they were using the canal. There's a canal that runs up along the south bench of South Weber, and they were, and people didn't even have to hear them. They knew when they were coming through because all the animals would crowd as closely to the north side of their pens as they possibly could get, and they were crying and whining and neighing and whinnying and making all sorts of ruckus and trying to get as close away from that thing as they possibly could. And they knew that that's when it was coming through. They didn't even have to hear it. They knew by the way their animals were acting.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, I think that's our 2 cents for the day.
Yeah.
Okay, that's podcast 3, Yellowstone Canyon and
Mississippi Bigfoot.
Come visit us at www.rmso.net. We got a lot of the still photos that we showed today and other expeditions on there. Our gallery has about 100 photos of footprints and structures. I think it's 99. I think it's up there. All right. We'll see you guys on the Bear Wallow
Expressway.
well, no. Our next round table will be Bear Wallow.
Yeah.
Expressway.
Okay.